Well, I found out where the leak is. It's on this side of this 2x4 petition. Over here is nice and dry. It all was here. This pipe here goes in and runs at a slight angle downward all the way to one of the drain lines underneath the house. And it is totally corroded under here. And let me see if you can see some of it. I'll zoom in here. See all that corrosion under that pipe? It's been leaking right from there somewhere. Well, as promised in the last video when we closed out, I told you we'd take a look at our speakers in the next video, which is this one. And, well, I have a crack, but I don't think that was caused by any water. Where's that crack at? It's right here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's there. Yeah, you can see it. It's the only crack I can find on that one. Let's check the other one. I only looked at this one when I took it out. I didn't look at this one. Both voice coils are loose, so apparently no water got in them. Can't even tell where the water got in on these things. I guess you can right here where the muddy area is. There's some mudded area here too. Other than that, I think we're okay. Well, now that we know the condition of our speakers, guess what? It is time to rip this baby apart. That's the best part. I couldn't wait for this. Alright, first of all, we're going to have to take these bolts out, if you'll recall. And I've already found out that they're 9/16. And I've got them all loose. These two and the one in the rear back here. But this one right here, which is covered up by this changing mechanism, is making life a little difficult for me. So I figured, you know, well, I can get this out from the bottom. All I have to do is go around the back and lift it up, and I can just, you know, put a wrench on the nut here and then start cranking from the bottom. Let's see how that works out. Well, that turned out to be a bust. These the bolts that hold the nuts in, they don't go all the way down through the wood. They go down into this channel. So, I'm going to have to figure out another way, and we will figure it out here in the next few minutes. But I think right now I need to take, we need full access to this thing, so I need to take this back off. It's not going to be an easy task. I mean, the nuts are, the bolts that hold it on are right here, and there's one over here, and then down along here. But here and here and here and here are some bolts that I think have to come off from the other side, because they hold this fluorescent bulb deal in. So I'm going to have to pull the bulb first, and then we'll take another look at it. A little tip when you're removing fluorescent bulbs that have been in a fixture for a long time, it doesn't matter whether it's a jukebox or anywhere. Don't just, you know, you have to rotate them counterclockwise or clockwise in order to get them to come loose from these little those things right there that hold them in. Okay, you got to get those little fingers loose. Most people will just grab it and start twisting from the center. Not a good idea, because these things here are only held on with a type of glue, and if it's really stuck in these holders, in these connectors, you start twisting on the bulb, bang, you break it loose right here, right where the silver metal meets the bulb. Best to take your fingers on each side, make sure there's no power applied, of course. Take your fingers on each side and wrap it around like this. On this side, do the same on the other, and spin them together. Don't use the bulb. Use the caps, the end caps, to do it with. Even then, you might not be able to get it out. But it's better than just grabbing that bulb and start twisting, you know. Alright, so much for that. It came out with no problem when you use both ends. These are held in with tiny Phillips screws. I'm going to go ahead and... boy, this camera does not want to stay focused today for some reason. I think it's all this white. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and remove the Phillips screws horizontally. There's two in each one. And get this connector out of the way. Get both of them out of the way. These here may not have to come off. I don't know. We're going to play this by ear. Let's get the connectors loose first. When breaking these things loose, these two screws, be sure to use the right size screwdriver for the job. Don't get a big one. And don't get one that's too small. Keep poking around till you find the one that fits exactly. I've already loosened these up. It's exactly the size you need. You don't want to be stripping these things off right now, okay? Let me go ahead and remove them and let them dangle down on the wires out of our way. I put the screws back in the holes. You'll notice there is a paper insulator there. Got two little legs on it. Very thin. You could probably use a good plastic sheet. You know, like that, those kind of plastic insulators I use on the radios, for those of you who watch my videos. These screws on the back are 1/4 inch. I'm going to loosen each one of them before I stick a socket on there and take a chance of rounding them off. I don't want that to happen. Good set of wrenches. Don't use that cheap Chinese crap that you buy, you know, at a flea market or something. Get a good set of Stanley or something like that. Craftsman, whatever. Get good stuff if this is the kind of work you're going to do, or you will be sorry. I'm going to loosen them all up here. Okay, I think that's about got them. Okay, now we can go ahead and put the socket on and see what happens. Well, all the screws are out. Now the question is, will the back come off? I hope so, because I want complete access to what's inside there so we can get that mechanism somehow out of there. I know there's probably some kind of latch release that'll enable this thing to slide that way, but I can't find it. I don't know what it is, but maybe when I get the back off, that'll help. All those little bolts are out. What I'm going to do now is grab it with my hands and see if I can wrestle it loose. I don't see anything else holding it, but if it doesn't come off, we're just going to keep looking and keep tearing until it does. Nothing to it, piece of cake. I just lifted it right up and it came right off. Now incidentally, this thing originally had a kind of a rubber type of plastic strap that was originally on it. Of course it's broken and half of it's missing. But what that was for was when you lifted up the door, you could use that strap to hold it up, okay? We'll see if we can. I think they make reproduction of those, I'm not sure. Now let me cogitate over this thing and see if I can figure out a way to move this thing that way. This is your record rack. Hold your records. Tell you what, maybe before we start messing with trying to figure out how to get this thing to come loose so I can move it this way, I better get this other fluorescent bulb out of here. I also decided before we went any further to go ahead and take a paper towel roll that I've got and put it over the top of our tone arm or our pickup arm to protect those needles. This thing has been out of this jukebox before. I'll tell you how I know. The nut that was here, no problem, no washer. The flat washer was missing. Well, I better do one more thing, I guess. Every time I look, I see something new that should be done, but that's okay. That's why we're here. That's why we got a screwdriver in my hand. This starter here for the fluorescent bulb, the wire comes down. I'm afraid once I get this thing lifted back out, it might fall or break this wire. But if I loosen up, if I take this connector out with the same screwdriver, I remove these, I can take that over and lay it over to the side. It'll be completely out of our way. So let me see if the first screw is going to cooperate or not. These things are really rusty, I'll tell you. Yeah, there we go. She's loose. Alright, let me get that off of there. Well, you know, old Murphy had to pay us a visit. This thing here, all it does is go round and round and round and round. The screw won't come out. The bottom one came out okay, but the top one didn't. Well, what do you do about that? Well, you gently pull with one hand on the entire socket this way as you unscrew the screw, and the pressure of you pulling and the screwdriver backing out the screw will take it on out. Unfortunately, it requires two hands, so let me get that done. Well, as you can see, that screw had a stripped area right there, down, midway down. So all I had to do was pull on that socket just enough to move it beyond that strip spot into the good thread, and it just unscrewed with no problem. This screw will have to be changed. As a matter of fact, they'll both need to be changed. And since all of my videos are geared toward, you know, the guy who's never done these things before, guys like me, this is the starter, and it fits into the socket. You'll notice it's got two little round nubs on it. They go in, and then you twist them to the right, and they lock in these oblong holes. See how the holes are oblong? They go in, they just go right in there, and you turn it to the right, and it fits tight against those contacts below the holes. Okay? Kind of a weird shaped hole, huh? But that's how they lock them in. They go in and lock. Let's see if I can show you actually how it works. You put it in the holes like so. See if this thing will cooperate. Probably not. It takes two hands actually. Let me see. Come on, baby, get in there. There we go. Then we just twist it to the right. There it is. Locked in. Ready to go. That's what starts and lights up your fluorescent bulb. That's the way they did it years ago. I grew up with stuff like this. Well, I haven't yet figured out how to get this thing unlatched so it'll run down. See, there's teeth right here. See those teeth right there? Let me zoom in there. You know, that's what moves this entire mechanism along. You know, those gear teeth. It rides along those gear teeth, and you got to figure out a way to release this thing so it'll slide along those gear teeth in that direction. I can't figure out how to do it, and I'll spend some time tonight looking at the manual. But in the meantime, I want to get this thing out of here. So there's more than one way to skin a cat, guys. I have loosened up that nut down there, that last one, and I think there's going to be enough clearance where I can get that nut all the way up and all the way out. And if I can do that, then I can go ahead and lift it all out. Let me work on that. And there it is, guys. The proof is in the pudding. It is off. Let's go around back and find out what we have to free up in the cabling in order to get this thing to come loose. You just can't yank it out of there. There are cables and wires and stuff that go from it down into the bottom where the speakers are. Alright, these two go up into it, so they got to come loose. This one here has to come loose. As far as I can tell, all the rest just come up and go to the speakers and go to the Tormat chassis I showed you, and the amplifier, which is on the back of the door once the door is installed. Let me see what I can do here. I'm going to try doing a little bit of lifting. You got to kind of be careful here. See, these things, they didn't give us a whole lot of room, at least I don't think. We'll find out. I decided to spin the entire cabinet around, get it closer to the bench, so when I lift it up, you know, I don't have to go 90 miles to reach the bench. And also, if I can get it to sit on the bench, and if the cabling is still down through this part of the cabinet, I'll be able to mess around with the cabling and not have to worry about balancing this thing here, trying to get the cables all up at the same time. Let's see if it's a great idea. Good theory. Let's see how it works out. Well, believe it or not, the idea worked. It actually worked. And now the cables, of course, like I said, are still down through there. But I realized that there's just a cardboard cover here that's on a swivel. It's got a swivel screw and a release screw. Let me get down in there, let you see. I've loosened them both up, so now the thing just swings around this way, and this cable will come right up through here. I'll tell you what, these Seeburg boys, they thought of everything. This is amazing. Okay, that takes care of that one. Now the other one is the connectors are round, and I assume they'll fit up through that hole. Then we can back this cabinet away and clear the wires out from underneath the mechanism, and we'll take the next step. All the cabling is out. This was kind of neat the way they set this up. When you pull your first cable up, if you take the cord and you move it into this slot, then the other one can come up past it. That's pretty slick. At first I was like, how the heck's that coming out? That thing won't come out because they're in each other's way. You got to move the cable to the slot, and then it leaves the hole where it can come up. One other thing I discovered, and I know there's probably someone out there saying, why doesn't John? John should know this. John should. No, I didn't know it, and if I knew it, I would have done it, okay? These things slide. Check this out. I had no idea. I had no idea. I did not know. So I wrestled around. It was a good experience. You know, live and learn. Let's see if they come all the way out. Look at that. I could have taken the whole stupid thing out. I had no idea. Well, did we all learn something? I know I sure did. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and take these cables. I'm going to free them out from underneath the mechanism. And we'll pick it up from here next time. Until then, this is John. By the way, when I first mentioned this project to my mentor, Brendan, he said, oh, I don't know, John, you know, that's kind of a heavy project you're taking on, which I, of course, knew. But he said, you know, it's going to be really, really complicated. He said, I'm not saying we can't do it, but, you know, you're biting off a big chunk. You know, I hope you know what you're doing. Well, of course I know what I'm doing, Brendan. Look at this. I was able to get that thing out, and I even did it wrong, and still got it out. Piece of cake, guy. Boy, she's drying out real good down there. I'm real happy with that so far. A few more hours, and I think we'll be good to go. The wood's nice and solid. No wood rot. Just, you know, just old. This house is 60-some years old, I think. Anyway, I'll check with my personal plumber about how we're going to handle this drain. His rates are very reasonable.